Hi, this is Janet, and this is my Foundations of Education submission on public schools and local policies. And this is Val Lehman. I'm going to be interviewing her. She is the school's clerk. All right. What are the responsibilities of local school boards?
One is they employ the superintendent, and they do long-range planning for the district, try and have a vision. And they make decisions which to support student learning and keep students achieving well through staff and education who they employ. And then review reports and spending and set policies, which they review recommendations from the state, and then if they have their own that they want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, how might community pressure affect the relationship between the local school board and the superintendent when district policies are determined?
Because we're a smaller district, lots of times we don't have the input, but if someone feels strongly about something, they might go to a board member who could be their friend, and they might try and have an agenda. Most of the time we don't have that here, but they could try to sway them. And if we do have the dissension, if the superintendent makes a recommendation and they would go against it, the piece maybe might be a little skewed.
Excuse me. Should state departments of education control the size of school districts, do you think?
I do not think so.
I don't think so. Why?
The only thing I could come up with is maybe if it was a bigger district, which we don't have here in small Southwest Kansas, but if it was bigger, then maybe so we could have not as big of classes, maybe would be the only thing I could come up with.
Okay. Okay. Why should school districts consider consolidation? What benefits might there be, and what would the negatives be?
I would say if they have diminished enrollment or lack of staff, that might be something where it's to the detriment of the students, then we might consider consolidation of schools. The benefit, you'd save on utilities because you'd have less buildings, less staff, you'd save money there. Possibly they could have more opportunities as far as activities or education because the class sizes wouldn't be as restricted with staff.
Okay.
The negativity or negatives that I think would, if you join two school districts, you're probably going to join two boards, and if they have a different vision for their school, there might be disagreements between the separate schools, and could have larger class sizes, but it may not be to the point that it would be detrimental, but you could have less teacher-student ratio.
Okay. What advantages do small schools have over large schools?
One, I think, is more one-on-one teacher-student, or when you add in paras, then you have the more help. There's an advantage in that because they're small, lots of times you know all of the families and the situations, so you would know how to better help students. They wouldn't get lost, more of a community feel.
Right. How might legislatures actually slow down educational change?
One we've seen in recent years is lack of funding. And the lack of funding, it goes back to how much staff you can have, and that would hurt students if you have less staff. Then that's going to affect the one-on-one ratio. Okay. And then maybe they change expectations on testing so frequently that it's hard to. The administration has to spend so much time figuring out what you're going to do that it takes away from the education. And just about the time you figure one out, they change it and want to do something different.
Right. And then the testing, that's all they get done.
Yeah.
They don't have time to.
And when they change the test, because larger districts, I know, like in Dodge City, they have taught to the test.
Mm-hmm.
Here we haven't really had to do that, which is nice.
Yeah. I've heard teachers complain, all we're doing is teaching them how to take a test.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna, I mean, you don't take tests all your life. You've got to learn the
Right.
basics.
Right. Describe the role of the federal government in education in recent years.
One thing they've brought up, it seems like repeatedly, is vouchers, which again doesn't really affect us in a smaller district. In a larger district, then they could use those vouchers to go to a different school. And then the funding with education, which we still get funding mainly in the lunch program, and they offset expenses there, and Title I, different programs like that. So.
The vouchers, what are
The
those?
vouchers for the larger school district, well, they're probably for everywhere, but it'd be like you'd have this voucher that would say you could use it to go to a different school. If you didn't like where you were placed, it'd be like being able to move freely between schools or districts,
Okay.
which we don't have a voucher, but we have a system in place in that they can apply to come here, or our students may go to a different school district, which we've had if they have disagreements for something.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.